Myanmar does not appear prepared for the safe return of 700,000 Rohingya Muslims. Muslims fled Rakhine State after military-led violence erupted back in 2017. And now a report by the Australian Strategic Policy Institute shows the scale of the crisis. Farid Khan is the Director of Advocacy for the Rohingya Human Rights Network. He joins me from our Toronto studios. Good afternoon to you, Farid.
Good afternoon, Angie.
What is your take on what the Australian organization's study is saying? There's some pictures we're going to show our viewers here. When you're seeing them, clearly it shows that this is not a place, this is not an area where these people can be living in.
Well, it's not surprising, the outcome of this study, because to this day, the Myanmar government has not acknowledged the fact that atrocities took place. The government has not allowed independent investigators into Rakhine State, where the Rohingya villages were destroyed. And clearly, if you look at the satellite evidence of what's going on in that region, the villages that were destroyed were bulldozed flat. There have been military bases established in some of those areas. And while the Myanmar government says they've set up housing for these any returnees, these places where they're going to return are no better than prison camps, concentration camps. The satellite photos show that in the few places where there have been housing set up, it's more like a barrack structure for tens of thousands of people surrounded by barbed wire fences and armed guards. So this is not the place that the Rohingya want to return to.
It looks like, from what you're describing here and what we're seeing there on those photos, that these are like detention centers. And now, of course, as you mentioned there, the government constructing military bases. What does this say? What is the message it's sending? And are you hearing it in terms of reasons why?
Well, the why we don't know, except the fact that the Myanmar government continues to implement a genocide agenda against the Rohingya who are still remaining there. And what it's saying in terms of the Rohingya who have fled, they're saying that, come back and trust us. Well, this is not a government to be trusted. If you're not going to allow independent investigators in, if you're not going to acknowledge the fact that atrocities were committed, war crimes and crimes against humanity and genocide, then what is there to trust about anything this government says? And I think that the Rohingya who are located in refugee camps in Bangladesh are very rightfully, not trustful of anything that the government says in Myanmar.
What can be done from here, Farid, to, well, I mean, a lot of questions, of course, being raised, and as we mentioned, we don't know the why, but are there repercussions on this? What can be done? Because we still have a huge group of people who have nowhere to go.
Well, number one, I think the world should continue to support Bangladesh because it is carrying an unfair burden in hosting 1.3 million Rohingya. So there should be continued support for humanitarian aid for Bangladesh. But secondly, and more importantly, the underlying cause has to be addressed, which is genocide. Canada passed, both houses of parliament passed resolutions last fall acknowledging that a genocide was committed in Myanmar. But Canada has taken no further steps beyond that. We have been advocating for months, for more than a year now, for the Canadian government to file a brief at the International Court of Justice under the Genocide Convention. Just recently, in early July, the Parliament of the Netherlands instructed its Foreign Affairs Minister in a vote to also explore the possibility of filing a legal brief at the International Court of Justice. And it's my understanding that from experts that we've spoken with, that apparently the Swedes are looking at something similar. Now, if all three countries got together, Canada, Netherlands, and Sweden,
right,
and joined, I understand that Gambia is also looking at this, and joined together to file an international brief, this would start a process of restitution, and also it would hold the state of Myanmar accountable for the atrocities that were committed. And ultimately, it is the state that is responsible for the killings and the destruction and the crimes that happened.
Well, we know that that's something that your organization is going to continue to push for, and we'll continue to follow those developments with you as they take place and as you continue to push forward. Farid Khan, appreciate your time today. Thank you very much.
Thank you for having me.
You're welcome.